everybody. Hi. Welcome back to another episode of Business Talk Essay. I'm your host, Pelele Dlamini, and today we are unpacking commercial law. I'm so excited. You don't know how many times, when you're in varsity and your friends are doing law and you're thinking, oh my gosh, so interesting. But anyways, now I get the degree here with you guys. So we have a very special guest. We have Ruth with us, but allow every single person to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone. Welcome back again. Yes, I'm your co-host Sanele, and I'm excited too. I want to learn. I'm getting my free consultation today. I'm taking all of it. So but yeah, we're excited to have you on. Ruth, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Thank you so much, Lily and Sanela, for inviting me. My name is Ruth. I'm an attorney, I'm a lawyer. I'm just feeling eternally grateful for being invited. Crack the invite finally. So I'm just here to edify, to add value wherever I can.
Tell us a little bit about your business as well, please.
Oh, which one?
The one
Okay, so I'm a practicing attorney. I've been an attorney since 2007, May 2007, somewhere there.
Yeah.
So my core business includes consulting with companies, businesses, drafting contracts, revising contracts, advising people on how to structure deals, and so much more. Of course, during COVID, I needed to diversify, and I did a little bit of family law, children matters, where parents are co-parenting, stuff like that. But like I said, my passion and my core specialities actually businesses,
Yeah.
contracts, structuring businesses, consulting, helping those businesses off the ground the best way you can. Yeah.
Outside of sorry, Lily. Outside of law, do you have any other business?
Oh, yes, I'm in the business of God.
Nice.
Yes, I write for our church website. I also do victim support for an NGO called Mzansi Act Now,
Nice.
which provides community support and victim support to gender-based violence and femicide cases throughout the country, depending on where we're at given time. I dabble in a few things, a number of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
seasoned businesswoman here.
So, how did you know that law was your calling? Because, like I'm saying, when I went into varsity, I did have an interest, and I think I went into what I went to because I thought, I'm very good at the science thing. Let me just, But how did you know? What was that thing that called to you for law?
Um, I didn't know that I had a calling in law until I actually started practicing. I studied it completely by accident. It was one of those situations where you're sitting in front of a computer and you're trying to decide which course to register for at varsity. And arts didn't cut it for me, commerce didn't cut it. I was undecided. I mean, how old was I? I was 17, fresh out of high school. So ask any 17-year-old, they're not too sure about where they actually want. Basically, you're asking a 17-year-old to choose something that they're going to do for the rest of their lives. So at that point, I didn't really, I just happened on it because it was a process of elimination. And I figured, seeing as I love reading, I've always loved reading. I figured, okay, I'm going to read a lot in law, so let's do law. So that's how, and then only when I started practicing and doing my training as a candidate attorney did I actually realize that, hey,
Yeah.
there's something here.
Kind of like this one.
And not that I kind of like this one.
Yeah.
It was like, when a software program reads an algorithm,
Yeah.
and the ones and zeros match.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those moments where it's like, okay, the pieces fit together, and I could see things in a different way and I've always loved puzzle pieces. I've always loved reading. I've always loved finding solutions to problems. And with law, you get to do all of that, and you get to do something different every time because there are no two situations that are the same. And
How old were you when you were making that decision to say?
sure. So I studied first,
Yeah,
and I didn't go into practice immediately after I studied.
sure.
I did other things for about what I think it was about 7 years after I studied.
Oh,
And I came back full circle. I was in my late 20s, 29, 30, when I actually decided that, okay, hang on, wait. Let me go into practice. Let me just get my admission done. And once I started the training and things started falling into place, that's when I actually realized that, hang on, there's something to this.
sure.
Let me dig a little bit deeper. And when I started getting into the nitty-gritties of legal issues and people's problems, I actually realized that, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't happen to study this by accident. It was actually divinely led. So yeah.
Could you please unpack that process of post grad and then getting into it? Because I know there are some young lawyers
Okay.
in the audience, just to.
All right. When I studied, it was way back when Moses was still a teenager.
Pardon
The curriculum looked a bit different from what it looks like now. So back then you had a junior degree, you had an LLB, which was honors level, and then you had a master's. Right now, I believe it's just an LLB as a junior degree or a BCom law, and then you do a master's immediately thereafter. Am I still correct, or is the curriculum changed again?
Straight.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. From your LLB, then you go into your
Yeah,
master's.
for
So
those
it
that are
doesn't
watching,
have,
it's a lawyer to lawyer.
yeah, it doesn't have that junior degree and honors phase anymore. So, but when I studied, initially I started with a BCom law, and then I decided, hang on, wait, oh, side note, sidebar, side story. After my first semester, like around Easter, first year, I then went to my dad and I said, I think I'm in the wrong study field. I had registered for a BCom law at the time, and my dad said, huh, how you reckon? I'm like, I think I want to be an architect. And my dad was like, hmm, very noble profession. But let me tell you how this is going to play out. You see this law that you started, you're going to finish it. You go and work, and with your money, you go to do whatever
End of the
architecture.
house.
You know? And I said, okay, cool. Because I have this no die attitude, as in I'm going to make this work. Converted my degree from a 4-year degree, a BCom law was a 4-year degree, to a B.Juris, which was 3 years, because I'm thinking, soon I get out of here, soon I can get to work, and the soon I can become an architect.
Yeah.
Finished a B.Juris, and then I realized that, hang on, with a B.Juris, the only thing I can actually do is be a prosecutor. And I was like, and how long is that going to take me to get to an architectural degree? No, this is not going to work. Then I did postgrad. That's when I did an LLB honors, and my junior degree I did in what used to be called Vista Universities back then in the day. They
Yeah.
don't exist anymore. See? And then I did my postgrad LLB at RAW, which is now UJ. And then when I got to UJ, I realized that, okay, there's something else that I could do with a law degree. And then I decided, okay, I love architecture, but I'm not going to get into architecture at this rate.
Yeah.
So how can I make money out of this? How do I monetize the law degree? And then that's when I got a job at UJ. I was, I laugh now, but it's actually not funny. I was doing the students' disciplinary committee. I was convening it, scheduling the hearings and all of that. So I did that for about 3-4 years. The upside of it was that as a permanent employee of RAW, which is now UJ,
Yeah.
they paid for my tuition.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, somebody else is paying for these fees, so I might as well study everything and get it all done. That's when I did my master's immediately after the LLB honors, and then I then did what is called practical legal training that reduces your term for serving articles as a candidate attorney from 2 years to a year. And then immediately thereafter, I wrote my attorney's admissions exam and I passed, and I was like, and it went on and on. And then after I did my admissions exams and passed, I got a job I actually got articles at the law clinic of the University of Pretoria. So I served notice at UJ. And the day I was supposed to have started my articles, I'd applied for a job that I'd completely forgotten about. In fact, a week before I'm supposed to start this job as a candidate attorney, I get a call saying, "We're calling you in for an interview." I'm like, huh? Interview for what? Where? What?
Yeah.
And then they explained that, remember, you applied for a job for what was then called the South African Judges Commission. I'm like, yeah, about a year ago. They're like, yeah, well, it's that job. I'm like, okay, I'll come to the interview. So I go to the interview. Lo and behold, the interview is held at the Constitutional Court.
Oh, interesting.
And there's a panel of Constitutional Court judges there, but not the person I'm supposed to report to. I go into the interview, I sit through the interview. At the end of the interview, the one of the panel judges, who was Judge Yakub, but I'm not sure if, well, he's retired now, I think. I'm not sure if it's, but anyway. Judge Yakub then says to me, "Your surname is very peculiar. There aren't a lot of people with this surname." I'm like, yeah. And then he says, "Do you know SKS Makhambeni?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my dad." He's like, "Oh, interesting." So it was all very odd.
Yeah.
It's not even that, actually, you know?
Sure.
And I get home, in fact, on my way home, I call my dad. I'm like, "Did you know a Judge Yakub?" My dad's like, "Huh?" So I'm like, okay, never mind.
Sure.
So a couple of days later, I think I went to the interview on a Tuesday, and the month would have ended the following Wednesday. So on the Friday, they call me. They're like, your interview was successful. We'll let you know on Monday whether or not they're going to take you. I'm like, "Oh." So I tell my dad. My dad's like, whatever. Late Monday, this is like now 2 days before I'm supposed to finish the other job and go start articles. I get a call. It's the person I'm supposed to report to, who was at the time Deputy Chief Justice Pius Lang. Phones me. He's like, "So you got the job. When can you start?" I'm like, "Huh? What do you mean, when can I start?" And he's like, "No, you got the job. We need you to report ASAP." I'm like, "Well, I'm currently serving notice. I'm supposed to start another job on Wednesday." He's like, "Well, you're coming here." And I was like, huh? And if anybody knows how difficult it is to get articles, they will understand. I had a very difficult choice to make at the time, because it was either start articles, which I was half-heartedly doing at the time, or get this opportunity to go work based at the Constitutional Court. But I would be working with chief justices of the SADC region and the EU, and I would get to travel, which is something I wanted to do as well. So I sat down with my dad, got home that evening, sat down with my dad, and I told him this is what's happening. And my dad's like, "Well, the choice is yours. This thing is not going to come again. You could always do articles later." So I took the job, called the director of the UP Law Clinic, telling him that, "Listen, this is what's happening." He was so supportive. He said to me that, "Listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Go for it." So the Constitutional Court-based job was a 3-year contract, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But the thing with that job, and which really crystallized everything for me, was that I was reporting directly to the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice. Those are the top jobs in the legal profession.
Yeah.
And I was dealing and interacting mostly with very senior judges, your judge presidents in the country, chief justices in different countries in the SADC region, the islands, in the EU, senior judges in their own judiciaries. And when I went into this job, it was a couple of months before Constitution Hill opened. So I got to be fortunate enough to be part of the delegation that formed that whole unveiling and inauguration of Constitution Hill. And it was a conference of about 2.5 months. It was, I didn't know at the time when I accepted the job that,
Sure.
and everything just aligned and working with such senior people, it made me realize that actually my thinking of what a law degree can do for me was pretty narrow-minded.
Yeah.
And up until
So
that
you got it,
stage.
yeah.
And I realized that I'm already reporting to the most senior legal brains there are. at the time, there were at the time. And I wanted to get to that point. And I remember this one time I was asked to do a first draft for a speech for Judge Langa. And I was like, and it was going to be delivered internationally at this other conference. I wasn't going to go to the conference, but he's like, draft something for me. I was like, what? So I drafted, and it's my first time trying to draft a speech for a judge. And of course, it came back massacred with track changes everywhere, right? And part of me felt, and then I realized that, hang on, this is how you learn.
Yes.
This is how you improve your writing skills. This is how you up your game. Your mindset needs to change. And I realized that, hang on, for me to get to this level of maturity as a lawyer, I need to go back and go do my practicals and actually do my work, do my my leg work into actually getting the experience of being at this level.
Yeah.
So when my 3-year contract ended, they wanted to extend, and I said, no, I'm not extending. I'm actually going to go serve articles and get the ball rolling. And I remember one of the times that I was doing something at the Constitutional Court, the judge presidents came for our high courts. And the head of the High Court of Gauteng was actually another person who knew my father.
All
And
connected.
he says to me, why are you here? You're sitting in with a master's in law. Why are you being a glorified PA? I don't get this.
Yeah.
That was his way of saying, okay,
Yeah.
it's time for you to. And it was a couple of months before my contract was due to expire. And I said to him, well, I'm just waiting for it to expire. And then I'm going to, he says, please do not renew this thing. You've done your work. We love what you do. We love you. But no, you need to get on with the business of getting on.
So is this where now you make the transition to
Yeah,
business?
in my late 20s.
In your late 20s?
That was I was in my late 20s at the time. That's when I made the transition from working in the legal profession and becoming an actual practicing lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under your own business?
No. I still needed to go learn the work. So I still needed to go do articles, which is your training.
Sure.
And because I'd already done a practical legal training with the law schools and I'd already written my admissions exam, I only needed a year.
Okay.
But already at that point, going into articles, I knew that I wanted to be in business.
Yeah.
I always had this thing about business and seeing something from nothing into,
Yeah.
and I've always been interested in the nitty-gritties of planning. I guess that's where the architectural analytical mind comes in, where you plan, you sit with the person who wants to start this business, you plan everything, you structure it, you look at your marketing, your budgets, how you're going to finance it, how you're going to run it, your head count, keeping your overheads low. If you don't have the money, this is how you keep your overheads low. This is how you would, all of that.
Yeah.
So, but now come 3 years later, I need articles again.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, now we're back here again. Like clockwork, the same place that had given me articles 3 years before.
Sure.
The same director gives me articles again.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it. Articles are a rarity. I'm going to take it. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but we'll see when we move on.
Yeah.
But the tricky thing was being in a law clinic, the most of the work you get, and at the time it was when this new Credit Act had just come through. So we did a lot of debt review applications, divorces,
Okay.
bail applications for people who couldn't afford attorneys.
Yeah.
So I was nowhere near commercial law and corporate law.
Sure.
And that's when I said, okay, God, I'm taking the salary cut to learn because I know there's a plan behind all of this.
Yeah.
I'm taking these articles because I know there's a plan behind all of this. I don't know how you can do this, but I want to be a corporate lawyer. And I left it there and I showed up for articles first day.
Yeah.
I was in that law clinic for a good, 5.5 months?
Okay.
Almost 6 months.
Yeah.
And I got a random call from a random guy I didn't know at the time.
Sure.
This guy says to me, listen, my name is Ramarumo Munama. I'm calling you from Shani Munama Twins in Sandton. I'm like, okay. And he says, when can you come through for a meet and greet? Meet and
Not an
greet.
interview.
Meet and greet.
Sure.
And oh, bring your CV to the meet and greet. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I think it was a Monday or a Tuesday. I say a Wednesday,
Sure.
Thursday. He's like, no, Wednesday is better.
Yeah.
Come through on Wednesday. I'm like, okay, it'll have to be Wednesday afternoon. Yada yada yada. After I leave, I can leave around 3, so I'll get to center probably around 3:30, 4. He's like, not a problem. Again, I call my dad again. I'm like, hey, old man, I don't know what's happening. So I get a call. This is what's happening. He's like, what? Like, we're going to center. He's like, okay, fine, let's go.
Sure.
My dad drives me. Because anybody who's done articles knows there's no money for cars there. There's no money for like niceties.
Yeah.
You can barely afford the basics when you're doing it, when you're doing articles. And I'd had to get rid of my car because I still didn't want to live at home. I still wanted to live on my own, so I had to get rid of my car. So I didn't have a car to go to Sandton, so my dad drives me to Sandton. Fine. Get to Sandton. I walk in. I'm thinking I'm coming in for a meet and greet and to understand that actually, guys, why did you call me? Where did you get my number? What is happening? You know?
Stalking you.
What happens is the gentleman who phoned me, Mr. Ramarumo, actually knows my dad, another person who knows my dad.
Connected.
You know? So, and then he goes into one boardroom with my dad, takes my CV, puts it on the desk, and then puts me in another boardroom with the other director. So the other director says, so tell me about yourself. I'm like, tell me about myself. As you called me.
Yeah.
Why am I telling you about me? Why am I here? They're like, okay. And then he he doesn't answer the question, but doesn't completely dismiss it. And then he's like, right, come, let me show you.
Yeah.
And then we walk through the glass doors. It's access controlled through the glass doors, directly aligned with the door. It's like, oh, that's your office. I'm like, huh? What? Like, that's your office. That's Avril. That's our senior paralegal secretary.
Sure.
She knows more than everybody else here. She probably knows more than me. Any questions? Ask her.
Go there. Yeah.
And I'm standing there thinking,
Meet and greet. Oh,
and everybody can see the shock in my like. They walk me through and everything. So, long story short, they then say to me, right, we need you to start tomorrow. I'm like, hang on, well, hold on, guys. Do you understand? This man gave me articles a second time.
mm.
Yeah.
I dropped him the first time.
Yeah.
Now I'm almost halfway through my articles. Now I must drop him. And like, it's like, well,
It is what it is.
you've got the job.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I didn't apply. They're like, you've got the job. I'm like, they're like, okay, is this a rent and cents situation? Okay, let's talk money. I'm like, all right. Fast forward, I go back to Pretoria. This firm is in Sandton, the heart of Sandton. Joburg's richest square map, right in the middle of Sandton.
Yeah.
Go back. The next day, I sit down with the same director now for the law clinic, and I say to him, dude, this is what's happening. He says to me, you know, I can't teach you any corporate law. We don't have corporate law files here. I will seed your articles. Go forth and connect. That was the most, I don't know how to say this, but it was, if ever I can say I've had one of the best bosses in life, that man counts as one of them. And he's an Afrikaner, older gentleman. But he took me under his wing and he made things possible for me.
Yeah.
Imagine now I need to seed articles and I've got a boss who doesn't allow it or makes it difficult for me to leave. You know, then it means if they don't seed my articles or seed my contract to the next firm, it means I must start again from month number 1 with the new firm. So he seeded my articles. I completed the last 5.5 months with this firm where when I got in, they're like, right, in a week and a half, you're going to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. this is senior counsel, these are the files. And when they show you the files, it's like 8 lever arch files full of papers. I've never done commercial law or contracts or anything like that ever in my entire life before that moment.
Yeah.
So I must get up to speed, and nobody's holding my hand.
Sure.
Nobody's holding my hand because now there's this perception that because you're so and so's daughter, you literally grew up in a
You should know
legal
this.
briefcase.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, you'll find out. So I had big shoes to fill, and it was a sink or swim situation, and I can't explain to anybody how it happened. All I know is that God was with me, and it happened.
Yeah.
And it happened, and I didn't think I'm still here. You know.
Well done, well done. No,
You know,
that's,
so
that's really a
that's
blessing. It was
yeah.
a blessing.
That's when things actually crystallized for me, and I realized that hang on. And lo and behold, the first case we get, I'm not going to mention the client's name. It's a case involving infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure, and towers and all of that. Enters the architecture and engineering aspect of things, and I'm like, I'm happy here.
Connect.
I'm happy here. There's a happy medium. I'm reading. I'm learning about infrastructure, software, design. Everything just merged at the right place at the right time, including my love of starting things from nothing to it just merged perfectly. So that's when things actually started making sense for me that, okay, nothing was accidental. Nothing was me thinking, okay, I don't have a choice. No. Everything was guided for me step by step.
Sure.
And I just so happened to be obedient. I fell into obedience by accident, I suppose, you know. But and there was never that fear of what if it doesn't work? Or what if this is not where I'm passionate? You know, I never had any of that.
I want us to
Yes, I've said a mouthful.
take it back from the top because we've reached the top and we're gonna bring it back to the bottom. And now you need to explain it. Now I'm taking my consultation.
Yeah.
So what is commercial law? So let's put in a bit of a case study here. Let's say I'm starting my cupcake business and I want to become a distributor of cupcake to different businesses all over the country, right? So I want us to go back to the basic. What is commercial law and how does it affect me as a business person?
All right. I'm gonna give you the most basic explanation of what commercial law is, right? When you look at the word commerce in commercial, that already tells you that you're talking business, you're talking transactions, you're talking buying and selling, or some sort of commodity.
Yeah.
You're talking money exchanging hands, basically.
Sure.
So that would be in the form of either selling services or selling goods, or it could be in the form of financing something.
Yeah.
Or it could be any number of things when you just think of commerce. So it's wide, it's super wide.
Yeah.
And looking at your case study of you wanting to sell cupcakes, when you come in, I will ask you, so what do you have?
Yeah.
How do you want to structure this? What assets do you need to protect? Are you married? Are you not married? And yes, this is important because if you go into business and you're married in community of property, right? Which most people are, and I don't know why. Where does money and love meet? Where? Don't do it. And the reason why I say this, and it has nothing to do with love or your partner or anything, it's because once you're in community of property, if something goes horribly wrong, which it can in business, it means nobody's protected. Your partner is affected by your credit rating. Your partner is going to be affected by your business's credit rating, which affects you, do you understand what I mean? It has that knock-on effect. If something goes horribly wrong and the business goes under and they want to liquidate everything, and they start liquidating from the top down, if there's anything, let's say for argument's sake, you're running your business from home. When they come in to attach assets, it's going to be an uphill battle to separate what's the business's and what's yours.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a registered PTY, then it means everything is up for grabs. So it becomes a messy situation that's going to put tension on your relationship and on your marriage, which could have been avoided. And it's an easy thing to avoid right from the onset, you know. And people who say they're in love, that's why they get married in community of property. Let me tell you something about men and women and how our dynamics are when we relate to each other on that level. If the character of the person you're with, and now I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, speaking about a man, if the character of a man or your partner is such that this person is inclined to hide assets, or this is a selfish person, this is somebody who's not going to take care of you, whether you're married in or out of community of property will not matter. Because this person will hide assets, this person will not be forthright about what he or she is doing. And if you're married out of community of property, a person who's inclined to take care of you will take care of you either way. It won't matter. The piece of paper won't mean anything.
Some relationship advice.
You know? And I speak like this because my parents got married. They had their marriage registered, I think 1970 or 1969, somewhere there. Back then, during apartheid laws, and they got married out of community of property with an antenatal contract without accrual. I still have the marriage certificate, the original one. And not once did they fight, or did I witness them actually fighting about money or assets or anything like that. And they were married until my father passed on. Not once were they separated or talk of divorce, or did I ever see my father chasing my mom with an ex, or do you understand what I mean? He understood his assignment as a man and as the head of the household, and he did what he was required to do at any given time. And when there were problems or financial woes, my mom understood her role as the wife and the mother in the household, and she picked up and supported my dad wherever she needed to. This is where the synergy between the two of you as individuals needs to align. And like I said, if the character of the person is flawed, there's no amount of in or out of community of property that will save that relationship.
Yeah, the love kind of hijacked my
You know,
question.
the love thing is neither here nor there. So coming back to the cupcakes, right?
Yes.
I will ask you, what do you have? Let's say for argument's sake, your son Ella, you're not married yet,
Yes.
but you're looking at growing into a business and venturing out into possibly having your own cupcakes, Krispy Kremes,
Yes.
corners everywhere. So
The vision.
already when you're setting it up now, you've got your long-term vision in mind. So we're already setting you up as if you're there. So we will put you in a PTY LTD, right? And then we look at your assets. What assets do you have? No, I've got that mini countertop oven, 2 trays,
Yeah.
5-liter bucket of flour, this, that. Okay.
Go out in the morning and I sell.
You know, and I sell, and we're like, okay, cool. Let's get you a bank account where everything that goes into the business goes into that particular bank account. From that, let's look at what your overheads are, which is what you are going to spend on getting cupcakes out every day. Let's say Sanel is only selling Mondays to Fridays when there's the highest number of traffic of people at the bus stops and in the taxi ranks, right? So Mondays to Fridays, these are your overheads. Do you need to travel to get to where you're selling? You know, you do that forward planning, right? And then you say, you're looking at how much are you selling it for? You're going to sell it at 20 Rand for 3 or 4, whatever the amount is. From that 20 Rand, your profit is 5 Rand after you've taken your overheads and everything, your electricity and everything. From every 20 Rand pack that you sell, your profit is 5 Rand. So at the end of each week, let's say you're selling, profit is 500 Rand, you should have 500 Rand in your business account because you've already paid for stock, you've paid for everything, you've done everything. You should have 500 Rand. At the end of the month, you should have 2,000 Rand, or at the end of 4. So how much do you want to pay yourself? Or I will then say to Sanele, how quickly do you want your business to grow? If you want your business to grow that quickly, instead of paying yourself half of your profits, pay yourself 25%, reinvest everything else into your business. You can even look at paying yourself every other month instead of every month.
Okay.
And then when you reinvest in your business, it gives your business more expendable income to grow quicker. Those are the kind of things I would discuss with Sanele.
Sure.
Sanele, do you need, okay, 6 months down the line, Sanele, how's the business doing? Hey, I'm actually up from 500 Rand profit per month. I'm at 2,000 Rand profit, per week. I'm at 2,000 Rand profit a week. Okay, Sanele, how are you coping? Hey, I'm not coping. You need headcount. What do you need to do? Can you cope with the baking? Do you need people to go and sell? Do you want somebody else? Do you need a bigger oven? And because you're reinvesting that money into your business, now Sanele can afford a bigger industrial oven, which means he's making more cupcakes.
Sure.
You know, how do we finance it? Can you finance it from your profits, or do you need to go into a finance deal for it?
Yeah.
What are you leaving for your business in reserves? These are some of the conversations we would have when we're trying to structure thinking long term.
Sure.
Right? And I always advise everybody going into business for the first time to keep the overheads as low as possible. The one thing that we spend a lot of money on is business premises.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money on business premises. And I remember when I went out on my own and started my own firm, which was what? 2013, December 2013. So
Okay.
it's almost 11 years ago now.
Sure.
My first thing was law firms cost a lot of money and to run. Firstly, because of the salaries you need to pay. Secondly, because of your business premises. And I decided there and there. And also, yeah, you know, when you see in the movies and all these things where you see a law library, books full on that wall, right? The law reports and all those things cost a lot of money. That's over 200,000 rands sitting on a wall, right? And I looked at all of those things, and yes, we need them, but these are not things that I need every day. But when I need them, I need to have access to them.
Sure.
And I looked at how those are going to be very high capital expenditure right from the onset, when I don't want to be spending that kind of money because I don't know how my business is going to look in the next 6 months. So I would rather have money in my bank account as expendable income so I can pay certain things to make the practice run and to grow the practice. So the first thing I looked at was working remotely. Yeah, I started doing this 2013, guys. That's the first thing I looked at. Everybody needed to work remotely. And I started looking at what would be the best way of having a head count without actually having physical bodies present. So I looked at my head count. I looked at how much it would cost for office space. And in terms of head count, because I was still quite small at the time, I knew that I wouldn't need a messenger every day. I wouldn't need a researcher or a paralegal to assist me with work every day. So these are services that I could actually rely on as and when I needed to. So the contracts that I had in place with those people, these were people who actually had other jobs.
Yeah.
Was that as and when I need you, this is your rate, this is how we pay each other, and this is how it works. And it worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when we look at our overheads and going back to that case study of the cupcakes and everything, we can also look at different avenues of getting your business resourced by looking at things like interns, what your CETAs offer, what universities, where you can get accredited to get the kind of headcount that you need without the overhead of permanent staff members being involved.
Yeah. So it's cutting the cost.
I don't like saying cutting costs, but keeping your overheads at a minimum. Because when you say cutting, here's the thing. When you use the term cutting costs, it has a connotation of saying that you're gonna sacrifice something of quality. So I don't want to. I don't use that term because for me it's about you maintaining that quality of cupcake that you've been selling, right? While imparting skills transfer to the interns, imparting business development ideas into somebody who's coming up and seeing you practically running a business from your backyard, your garage, or whatever it may be, you know. So, and bringing and teaching someone else and transferring to someone else the knowledge and the skill that just because you're keeping your overheads low does not mean you need to compromise on the work product or the quality of product that you're producing, right? You will still give them the best that they can get for that 20 rand.
Okay, so we did have other questions, but I think we're gonna be short for time since we have to leave at 4.
Okay, hang on.
So I want to open up to the audience,
Yes, okay.
and rather have them ask the question.
All right.
What advice would you give to a law graduate who wants to go into commercial law? What should I anticipate?
Laugh.
I don't. Thank you for that question, right? Nothing will ever prepare you for practice. I can't tell you what practice is. And let me tell you why. Because each person you're going to come across is different. There are never 2 days that are the same. Never. There are never 2 clients that are the same. So my experience will be very different from yours. They might be similar, but they won't be the same. And also, when you go into practice, right, you can never have an off day. You need to separate yourself from what you do. Your off day is for you, but when you get out there, you must perform. Basically, you need to bring your A game every day, even when you are having an off day. So when you bring your A game every day, when you're having an off day, you will still fall way above average. You will never ever come across as mediocre. So you and please guys, I'm not gonna mince words. You cannot be a lawyer if you don't love reading.
You don't love?
Reading doesn't work. You need to love reading. You need to be passionate about reading. You need to be the kind of person who will read a document upside down when you walk into someone's office and it's sitting there. I didn't realize that I was actually doing that until quite recently. This is actually something my sister was joking with me about. As lawyers, right? We are those people who buy other people's fights. We get paid to get in another person's fight.
Nice.
And we get in. Hands, feet, knees, everything. If it's in the mud, we are in the mud. So we are in the business of sorting out people's problems. It's unavoidable. So you can't go in when you're having an off day. You're gonna be an even worse liability than the person who's in trouble.